I'm back here in the shop with my favorite Cleveland powered Fox body to do a companion cylinder method valve adjustment. You can do this on any engine that has an even number of cylinders and an even firing order. One of the exceptions I can think of, there was a John Deere tractor that had like an odd fire. Wouldn't really work well on that, but pretty much anything else with an even number of cylinders, this will work. If you have an odd number of cylinders, like 1 or 3 or 5, go ahead and check out the video that I did on adjusting valves one cylinder at a time. Back to this Fox body. When I set the valve lash hot in the other video on valve lash, the cylinder by cylinder method, the reason we did that was to determine what our cold lash was so we could more easily adjust this difficult side with the engine cold. Now, I was a little bit surprised by what happened. The exhaust actually stayed the exact same hot or cold, whereas the intake dropped from 22 to 17 thousandths after it was adjusted hot and let to cool down. The difference in temperature has to do with the expansion of all the metals in the engine. So like in this engine we have a cast iron block, aluminum cylinder heads, I don't know what the valves are, aluminum rocker arms, chrome ollie push rods, and we've got a lot of different expansion rates. And that's why the cam companies give you your specs as a hot lash. Now that we've got the specs for this room temperature, well, at least this room temperature, this car's been sitting at like 55 degrees for the last couple days. So it's had plenty of time to get down to the normal temperature in here, which is 55. That's still cold. We may want to check this again once it warms up and get like a 70 degree reading. But for right now, I can use these cold 55 degree 17 thousandths intake, 24 thousandths exhaust to go through and check all of these. I really don't understand why the exhaust didn't change, but it didn't. Our firing order on this car is 13726548. And down here below that I've drawn out our companion cylinders. So 1 and 6 are companion cylinders, 3 and 5 are companion cylinders, 7 and 4 are companion cylinders, and 2 and 8 are companion cylinders. I used a small black Chevy firing order in the other one, so I had to go through that. They're a little bit different. I also took that information and wrote it down here so I have it as a note for myself as I'm adjusting this. The numbering on this Ford is different than what you would have on a Chevy or a Chrysler. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 down the passenger side, 5, 6, 7, 8 down the driver's side. So I'm going to zoom you in here on cylinder number 1. As we find top dead center cylinder number 1, I'll be setting cylinder number 6. So I'll watch cylinder number 1's rocker arms to set cylinder number 6 over on the other side. I'll zoom you in on cylinder number 1 so you can see the rocker arms change. And just the way this naturally fell, the exhaust valve on cylinder number 1 is pretty much all the way open, so we're actually really close right now. As I roll this engine over, the exhaust valve is open right now. When it starts to close, we'll watch this rocker arm and this rocker arm, and when they just start to flop on where they are, we've got that cylinder lined up on top dead center. So it's actually starting to close right now as I crank it over. And right there, the exhaust is still going up, the intake started to open. We've got this cylinder close to top dead center. And actually another added bonus for doing this method is you can check to see if your timing tab on the balancer is relatively close at the same time. When cylinder 1 or cylinder 6 are crossing over, the pointer on the balancer should very close to line up. It might be 10 degrees off or so, but it should be very close. I'm not going to move the camera right now so you can see the other cylinder, but I'm going to go ahead and set the lash on cylinder number 6 because both of them are now at the point where they can be. I shouldn't really have to make any adjustments on this driver's side because they were all set while the engine was hot. So I just checked cylinder number 6. They are both good. The next cylinder we're going to want to watch is down here at 3, which you can see the exhaust valve is wide open right now. So as that one comes up, we will be set up to check cylinder number 5. So I'm watching the exhaust valve there on cylinder number 3. It's starting to close. The intake rocker arm for cylinder number 3 just started to move as the exhaust was closing. With this engine, that means I'm now set up on cylinder number 5, so I can check those. The next cylinder that needs to be lined up is cylinder number 7, which is on the driver's side out of frame, one cylinder from the front. You've seen this thing get set up twice already. I'm going to leave the camera where it is because once I get 7 lined up, we'll actually set cylinder number 4 where you should be able to see on camera. Now we're set up to adjust cylinder number 4. I did not adjust this bank while it was hot, so the intake valve should actually require a fair amount of adjustment. The exhaust valve should be fine. Cylinder number 4 is now set, so I can move on and watch cylinder number 2, which you can see the exhaust is wide open on. Now with cylinder number 2 right at its crossover point, I can go ahead and check and set cylinder number 8. And this process just keeps going throughout the entire firing order. So I think you guys get the idea. I'll continue to finish this up and put the valve covers back on. I think you've got enough of a visual now to go ahead and do this on your own if you want to try it. You just work through that companion cylinder in order, going cylinder to cylinder. It's actually pretty quick if you don't have to roll the engine a bunch of times and do all that. So once you get good at this, it's actually a pretty nice method to set valve lash with. So as normal, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the button, subscribe to the channel, whatever you want to do there. Thanks for watching.